you're afraid of the conversation, right? You're afraid to have that conversation because as a leader, you're probably still developing. And did you ever read, I know it was real hyped up a few years ago, that Jocko Willink book,
Yeah.
The Bird
Extreme
of
ownership.
Leadership, Extreme Ownership. And, he's working with some, bad dudes, some hardcore people, top performers. And he just was never afraid of the conversation. All right. Welcome back to another episode of the BMK Vision podcast. Gary, we've got kind of an interesting one. We got an email from a listener, somebody I'm familiar with, but not like, never been a client, never really good buddies with, just somebody. I think I'll just read the email.
Yeah, go
What
for
do you
it.
think? All right. So let's see here. All right. So, Josh, quick question for you. And I'm kind of at a loss on this one. This is kind of a long email. I guess I'll read the whole thing. I've got a salesperson who's been with me for about 5 years now. Really good guy. Clients like him. No real personality issues. The problem is he's inconsistent. Some months he'll bring in a deal or two and I feel fine about things. Other months it's pretty quiet. If I'm being honest, I hate that if I'm being the honest thing. Do your kids
Please.
say that? Yeah, you've got young kids.
My therapist, every time I tell her that, she says, please do.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, for adults, it's like it's just this weird tick. But I hear like 20-year-olds saying this if I'm being honest thing. And it's like, and then you're going to tell me you don't like,
Shit.
roller dogs at 7-Eleven. Who cares? Right. All right. I don't care if you're honest or not about that. So I don't really have a defined quota or anything like that for him. We just sort of know when it feels like he's doing okay versus not. Jesus. Okay. He brings in enough that I've kept him around, but I also feel like it should be better at this point. All right, good. Where I'm stuck is I don't think he'd react well if I suddenly started asking him to track his time or activities or hold him to numbers. He's not that type of guy, and I think he'd take it personally or feel like I don't trust him. So I guess my question is, how do I get more control over this without blowing up the relationship? Or am I thinking about this wrong way entirely? Or am I thinking about this the wrong way entirely? You're thinking about it the wrong way entirely. I wish we had more questions. I'd just be like, all right, next question. All right. So what do you think? Is he thinking about it the wrong way entirely? Am I wrong?
I
You need me to
mean,
read any of that back?
no, I think I'm good. Yeah, it's like, okay, so we liked the guy. He's got a good attitude. He doesn't have any goals. There's no accountability. We're afraid to do that because he's not going to think that we trust him, but we don't have anything to trust him for because we haven't set any goals for him.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah,
It's a problem. It's a
massive.
problem.
Everyone's at fault.
Everyone's at fault, except maybe even the salesperson's not at fault, right?
Oh, he's probably chilling. Yeah, it's no big
Yeah,
deal
he
for
has
him.
no idea, right? I wish I knew. So that you've heard this a lot. I've heard some version of this a lot. A lot of times it's uh they hired their buddy, right? Their buddy who lost their job at Oracle or something, and it's like, all right, cool, I'll hire you, and it works out okay. So I guess my question back to this guy would be, what what's the problem? His goals, and that would be my starting point is what's the problem? What do you,
Yeah.
it's he's feeling something. Maybe he's just hearing us berate him on the pod, like he's taking these things personally, but what problem is he actually feeling?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean,
All
the
right.
reality is he's probably feeling like I messed up. I set a precedence for, someone to not know how to perform in my business. I can't ask him to be accountable to it because I never asked him to do anything specific. Yeah, I mean, that's not a great position to be in, but also it's like not you can fix that. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And I would imagine what he's, if he's, if what he's feeling is not just like, oh, I'm hearing, I'm opening my eyes and hearing more content around how a salesperson actually should be managed. If that's not it, then what he's likely feeling is the guy's not really helping us grow the business. All right. Then what he's probably feeling is the guy's not really growing the business for me. I probably pay him a decent base salary, probably the wrong base salary if I'm thinking about it. I was almost say if I'm honest, probably not paying him the right base salary, not feeling like he's getting enough big enough return. And if I was also going to guess, perhaps he's also experiencing the is the guy really going out there and prospecting? Is he really going out there and trying to find new deals? Or is he just really a good person to have to say, oh, the phone rang, a client gave us a lead, and now he's chasing it down and he's pretty good at that. That's where I would think the problem really is what our owner is feeling here.
Yeah,
Um,
here's I'd probably argue, and we're speculating here, so let's
yeah.
have fun with that, right?
Hmm.
So my first question for the owner is like, okay, what's your goal?
Hmm. Hmm.
Do you have a revenue target, net profit target, gross profit target? What's the company trying to do over the next 1, 5 to 10 years? 9 times out of 10, he's not going to know that answer because he doesn't know how to answer the goal for the salesperson,
Right.
not realizing those are one and the same, right? So it's
Yep.
like, if he hasn't set those as the top level goals for his business, how could he ask him to do anything specific? Right. So it
Right.
feels good when he gets a deal because it's like, oh, that's a deal that I didn't even know we wanted. Right.
Right.
I didn't even ask
Right.
for it. Right.
Right.
So it's like, in where it doesn't feel good is when he doesn't get a deal because then it's like, oh, he's not paying for himself. I think we're at that point. And I think a
Hmm.
lot of people get to that point. I'm working with one of our clients right now where, he's deciding, hey, I'm at this growth plateau. I need to either hire a tech and go out and do sales myself, or I need to hire a salesperson so I can, grow the business. So it's
Mm.
like, it's scary. It's like, okay, I'm going to invest all this money in, hiring a salesperson. How do I manage them? How do I pay them? How do I compensate them? How do I, get them motivated? Salespeople are notorious for kind of being difficult to manage, and he understands that. And it's like, yeah, you got to pay, 50, 100, 200 grand or whatever it is to get someone that's good in there. And then you don't
Right.
know how to ask them to do their job.
Yeah, this starts getting real easy when both parties have a goal. When the owner has a goal saying, we're going to grow by $200,000 this year, $1 million this year, we're going to do that. And I know why. I want that because I'm trying to reach this next milestone to achieve my big moment in the future, whether it's exiting, being just an owner, not an operator, whatever it may be. But knowing with your heart and conviction, this is what I want. This must happen.
Yeah.
The other party, the salesperson, and this is what I think gets missed all the time in interviews and hiring selection. It's what's your goal, Bob? What's your goal? What are you trying to do?
Mhm.
Right? And that's such a fun conversation to have. It's like, "Hey, man, you check all the boxes. You've got good enough experience. You're a likable guy, but I only hire people with goals for themselves. And you gotta get personal with it. I wanna get out of debt. I wanna buy a house. I wanna do whatever. What is it you're trying to achieve?" Once you have those 2, because whatever he says or she says, well, that just snaps into your goal, right?
Mhm.
Hey, that goal is big enough that it actually helps support what I'm trying to do.
I
If the
see.
goal isn't big enough, then what's the point? You only want to make 80,000 a year? Well, that means you're only going to sell 100,000 or 200,000? Nah, this isn't going to work. And you got to
So, y-
believe them when they tell you their goal.
so you're doing that pre-hire. You're doing that in the interview process. You're doing that kind of making sure you understand who he is or she.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and wouldn't you agree that only makes sense?
I mean, to me, yeah, there's so many ways to kind of like ask a salesperson if they're a salesperson, right? Like that's one of those, right? Like, do they have a
Right.
goal for like something lofty? I had a buddy that used to like asking them what kind of car they want to buy when they first get their first paycheck, and if it was
Mhm.
always more than what their paycheck was going to pay them, they were like, "Good, this guy's
Yeah,
the
oh,
guy,"
yeah.
because it's like
Yes,
that they're just going to have to continue to work hard for the money because it's like they're
yes.
spending all their money. Another thing is like, you ask them like, hey, this is 10 years, 20 years ago almost. It's like, hey, would you buy the most expensive flat screen TV if you walked into Best Buy right now? And if
Mm.
the guy's like, no way, those things are too pricey, it's like you got the wrong guy, you know? It's like,
That's right, that's
you
right.
gotta get these guys that are motivated to kind of sell and get people to spend money,
Yes.
yeah.
So I think we're isolating it down. It's like, "Hey, Mike, our owner here, what's your goal? How much do you believe in your goal, in your dream, in your vision?" Recalibrating around your salesperson to say, "Hey, you've been here, what do you say, 4 or 5 years?"
Yeah, 5 years.
You can reset that clock,
Hmm.
right? And you can say, "Hey, man, you've been here this year. This is how much you're making. Doesn't sound like a lot to me. How does it feel for you?" And if the guy's saying, "Oh, no, man, I'm really happy," well, then he's obviously in a protection mode. He doesn't wanna say anything that makes, you, the owner, feel weird. But if he says, "No, man, I need to be making a lot more." Why? 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 Just keep driving on that until you very artfully get that salesperson into a place where they can say definitively what they want, test against it to get that emotional attachment to it. Once you have that salesperson saying, "I really need to make 135K," or whatever the number is, then it's working backwards. Right? Great. How many deals would you have to close to get that? How many first appointments would you have to get that? How many prospecting activities would you need to do? And now you're not managing to the result, and you're also not managing the salesperson, you're managing their activity. Right? On behalf of them. Like, that's how gently you can move this, transition this without being too awkward. It's, "I wanna see you make 135K. I've just shown you this is the activity level it will take. I'll be your accountability partner in this to help you get what you want. How does that sound?" Right? Now, to me, that sounds great. I've seen it, in action to some degree. Most people struggle and are too, you know, emotionally embedded in this to detach like that. But what do you think about that? Does that sound practical?
Yeah, to me, it's always about the numbers and making it as understandable as possible. So, like three, maybe four numbers around the jobs is the right way to look at it. And yeah, absolutely, it's based on activity. As the manager, owner, whatever, you do all the hard math, right? Like you do
Uh-huh.
hey, we need this guy to generate $700,000 a year in revenue. I'm going to break that down to what he actually needs to do a day, right? So
Uh-huh.
do all the hard work for them and just simply say, hey, you hit these three numbers each day. You know you're doing a good job. We're going to check in once a week, twice a month, definitely monthly. And
Right.
that's the outcome. The question that I would have for you is, and I'm not sure if the email stated this, but like, you know it's this problem's probably easier if we hired the person at the right